Hello, good morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates. I'm actually down the road to the next marker on this trail, which is this. You can see by this beautifully placed red dot that's going to change just to green because it is a reflection of traffic lights just down the road from here. It's just after dawn here in not so sunny Scotland. The artwork created by a sculpture, and you may recognise the sort of format of it because a few stops back there was a similar one looking at the lace industry within this part of the world. This is again by Marion Smith. She created this marker for the town of Kirkintilloch, which has got a boar and a tree from a Roman marker stone that was found in Kirkintilloch in Eastern Meaths and is now in display at Museum of the Hunterian in Glasgow. The wild blower was the emblem of a Roman legion which was stationed here and built a section of the Antonine Wall, which is further down from here, and a really interesting kind of part of local history, of course, because the Antonine Wall built to keep the Celts out, the disruptive Scots, as if that was ever going to happen, and often found the boar and the tree in Celtic art design. So even the influence of the Celts has lived longer than the Romans did, a conquering bunch of people. I'm actually in a bus stop across the road from here in order to have a place, a vantage point in order to get it in. So this week, in Thoughts and Updates, this sort of whole aspect, not just of the public transport or standing next to a bus stop, but also the whole issue of public art and the way in which the public take responsibility for things has been much in my mind. We as a public tend to look at government and decision makers as being the people who are going to decide what to do in order to give us guidance and guidelines and laws, in effect rules that guide our responsibilities and make sure that somewhere along the way we are able to understand our role within our communities and society. Recently within the United Kingdom, as I mentioned last week, there's been a lot of people going to buy petrol because there's a petrol shortage, and mainstream media has talked about petrol shortages, and the mainstream media would appear to have fueled, if you pardon the pun, the way in which people have suddenly found themselves panic buying. And parts of southeast England, as I understand it, according to the mainstream media, are finding it really tough because there's a lot of petrol stations with no petrol whatsoever. Looking at this weekend and thinking, shall we go somewhere, shall we do something, ends up being a bit like, well, are we going to get somewhere and never get back? What are we going to do here? And it comes down to personal responsibility and the idea of people filling up cans of stuff in order to get through a crisis is once again the way in which we as a community, as a society, have gone away from communality, away from taking responsibility as a community, and into the individual responsibility that has been the watchword of some political parties since the 1980s. Hoping that that's going to bind us together through some form of greed or understanding that if we all combine together for good, we get good. If we combine together for bad, well, it's just bad. And on this occasion it seems to be just bad. To me, along with the idea of public transport, where we were supposed to come out of this pandemic with a new vision, a new way of doing things, a new methodology, is getting a little lost again as we come towards COP26 in Glasgow, where leaders are going to come, and Greta Thunberg no doubt will tell us all that we are getting it wrong. We're not doing enough, and the reality is we are not doing enough. It's okay to me stand a few feet away from recycle bins and remember 30-40 years ago I thought, when I saw a television programme about how they recycled in Germany, that would never happen here, and yet it does. And I think to myself, that's progress. What's the next stage of progress? Is it that we're going to see petrol cars going, we're going to see oil diminished, we're going to value electricity in a way that we haven't done since way back to the point at which we had Galvin and all the rest of them bring it to our attention? I don't know. But what I do know is that if we keep going the way that we're going, if we continue to react in a way in which is personal rather than a part of a bigger community, that all that's going to happen is that selfishness and that greed is going to end up with us being unable to survive beyond where we have begun and started, to understand that change has to happen. And it has to happen. So for public art, for me, it's not just a marker in a town, it's a significant development which allows people to understand that we are not just about commerce and industry, we're also about the soul and creativity. And whilst I can have a debate over whether or not they should spend all that money on public art, or we should spend all that money in theatre, all that money on the arts in general, what I do know is that those are the things that have got us through the pandemic in ways in which we have allowed ourselves to indulge Netflix, to see Amazon Prime, to understand that the actors and the creatives round about us have given us the leisure time that has allowed us to survive. So what's next? What gets put back? Well, interestingly enough, on that very topic, as part of my reading through everything, I do have a look at football clubs' websites on a regular basis, and I discovered the Barton Football Club have got a poet, Stephen Watt, a poet in residence. And I'm going to end with a little bit of poetry, which, for those of us who are soccer fans, for my American viewers, football fans, is rather interesting. And it's something very poignant because recently at United, my own club, they are at the top of my head, appointed a new manager. And the poem is called "Where Were You When the New Manager Was Appointed?" Where were you when the new manager was appointed? Counting calories in the crisps aisle, halfway through a driving lesson, editing your Facebook profile, wrapping the first batch of Christmas presents, shaving in a new hairstyle, attending yet another drizzly wedding, fixing roof tiles, or in a pub guzzling something effervescent. Something changed. Alien. Sanguine. It changed casuals into watercolours. It turned photographers snap happy, cast groundskeepers as sculptors, shaped tomorrow into poetry. Then positivity restored itself in blood, hope bracketed players' bones, and the epitome of supporters' aspirations roosted on his shoulders like wings to fly with, or the leaden avoirdupois some can never carry. And yeah, I'm going to go and have to look up and work out what that means. Till next time, bye for now.